When the Filipino votes on May 9, all hands will be on deck. And among those hands, the armed forces, the Philippine National Police, the Parish Pastoral Council for Responsible Voting, or PPCRV, and the National Movement for Free Elections, or NAMFREL. The Chief of Staff of the AFP, the Chief of the PNP, and the chairpersons of the PPCRV and NAMFREL join me tonight here on Politics as Usual, your weekly political appointment fix. I'm Pia Hontiveros. Welcome to the show. Armed Forces Chief of Staff General Andres Andy Centino, Philippine National Police Chief General Jonard Carlos, PPCRV Chairperson Myla Villanueva, and NAMFREL Chair Gus Lagman. Thank you very much for being with us tonight, 6 days before the May 9 election. So let's begin with this. Let's talk about very briefly the roles of each of your organizations. We need to remind the viewers, the voters, citizens who are watching right now. General Centino.
Yeah, the Armed Forces of the Philippines, together with the PNP and the Philippine Coast Guard, are deputized agencies by the COMELEC to ensure that we are able to secure the elections starting from way back January of this year, during the election period until election day, and then when the election period is over.
Mm-hmm. General Carlos.
Same, we're the deputized agency under the COMELEC for the security of the election from January 8 to June 9 of 2022.
Myla Villanueva for PPCRV.
We're the accredited citizens arm of the COMELEC that is charged with poll watching and also the unofficial parallel count starting May 9. With about 6 months worth of work on preparing for the poll watching.
Unofficial parallel, that is the quick count. So by the evening, late evening of May 9, Monday, we will already know the results, right? Gus Lagman, sir, for NAMFREL.
We have been, well, we're also accredited and we have been tasked to do the random manual audit by COMELEC. So that's, we're going to take care of that. Where there are gaps, then we might do some poll watching also. But we don't duplicate what
Right.
the others are doing already.
Right. Random Manual Auditor, RMA, you're going to be looking at the ER or COC? Election return or certificate of canvass?
Well, first we choose about 750 precincts nationwide, and we do a manual count and then compare that with the official count of COMELEC. And hopefully they'd be the same.
Okay, and this has been done in the past. You've done
Yes,
RMA
since
before.
2010.
Right, and you have been, well, generally satisfied with the results of that
That's
RMA.
true, yeah.
Okay. Just today, and this is for Gus Lagman and Myla Villanueva, just today, Tuesday, May 3, the COMELEC did the testing and sealing of several VCMs or vote counting machines in several precincts. Are you satisfied from what you've heard, and from what you've seen on news reports, for example? Are you satisfied with that exercise today, Mr. Lagman, sir?
Yes, we didn't notice. There were no reports where they came out very much different from what was expected.
Myla?
Yeah, so for our listeners, the final testing and sealing is supposed to take 10 ballots and to be voted upon and fed to the machine to see if the machines count properly. And they did. They did, and it did what it was supposed to do.
Okay. Of course, everybody remembers, and I wanted to bring this up a little later on, but let's get it out of the way already. Everyone remembers what happened back in 2019, when there was that glitch. For several hours on election night, we had a problem. We couldn't report results. Very briefly, Myla, can you just tell us what happened and how we are going to avoid that same circumstances from happening again?
Yeah, so it's the transparency server that is housed with the PPCRV and the media, accredited media partners that we have, the Kapisanan ng Broadcasters ng Pilipinas. And at that time, I think the results came so fast because our transmission systems have improved quite a lot, that the machine was overpowered, the server was overpowered.
Okay.
And we did work with the COMELEC and ask them to test properly for this upcoming cycle so that it doesn't happen again. We did prove to the public that there was nothing untoward. The results remained the same regardless of the glitch, and that we find that credible in terms of results.
It did not alter the results, in other words, and people were satisfied with that explanation. And to make it even more parang understandable, para bang funnel, no? The funnel, the idea of the funnel na you have so much coming in, tapos ganito kaliit lang yung pagdadaanan, correct?
Correct. The machine should have the power to, handle the transactions that are given it. So medyo it was underpowered, so to speak.
And of course, for the viewers tonight, it's important that you listen to what Myla Villanueva is saying, because she is the subject matter expert, right? Technology is your forte.
Yes,
right?
and so is Gus. by
And
the
of
way.
course, Gus
Yes.
Lagman, who is a
Long
NAMFREL
ago.
veteran. Long ago, nung manual pang elections na mamaya pag-usapan pa natin yon. But anyway, I just wanted to ask the General Carlos and General Centino. So earlier you did participate or help secure yung delivery ng mga election paraphernalia, right? Yung mga vote counting machines, ballot boxes, etc. Lahat ng dokumento, balota, etc. Nothing untoward happened, right? Everything went smoothly. Wala tayong problema. There is no glitch whatsoever. Everything is in place. General Centino.
Yeah, we were instructed to support the PNP in the transport of the election paraphernalia, and we didn't monitor any problem during this transport.
Yes, there's no glitch, but we're preparing also for the reverse logistics. That's the challenge. After the elections, bringing all these machines, these materials back to the warehouse. That's really where the challenge is.
Okay, we're going to talk about that a little later on in the show also. This is for, again, for General Andy Centino and General John Carlos. Let's talk about, in general muna, ano itong mga risk factors natin na pinag-uusapan when we talk about election day and right before election day, the eve of election day itself, and following election day. Tapos iisa-isahin natin to lahat. General Centino.
Yeah, in the past elections, we have monitored incidents related to elections, and these are the risks that we have to consider in deployment of our forces. That's why we have to establish checkpoints in coordination, of course, with the PNP. There will be use, perhaps, of some armed men by some politicians, and we will be ready for that. In fact, our checkpoints have resulted to some arrests of possessions of illegal firearms. And these are the things that will continue even up to the last day of the campaign and even up to election day.
General Carlos.
Yes, all the preparations were done before the election period. Counting of our police security that are detailed to BIPs or protectee, especially those that are going to be candidates for this election. So we followed the Alunan doctrine of the President of only deploying 2. But with the approval of the COMELEC in the deployment of these security personnel. And then we look at we did a threat assessment on all these candidates because they did file their candidacy as early as October. So then we follow the regular checkpoints with the armed forces, our COMELEC gun ban checkpoints daily. And then after that, we look at the materials, the equipment that we have, and do we have enough mobility equipment and the deployment of personnel. So we try to maximize the deployment of all PNP personnel for these elections. We're only keeping as our reserve force those who voted during the absentee voting. All admin personnel will be deployed where they can vote. That's our plan. So we're maximizing presence of the police in all these polling centers and polling precincts and centers. And then our quick reaction teams with the Armed Forces of the Philippines, and then securing the hub for this equipment, the forward deploy and the reverse deployment of this equipment, including the COMELEC offices, coordinate with the telcos, with the power companies, and look at the possible weather condition on the D-Day. So all of these are put into in the planning, and then the signal in the different polling centers. So ito, we look at this and communicated with the telcos and the power companies if we can be provided a proper supply.
General Carlos, both you and General Centino are saying that you have everything covered at kayong bahala.
That's right.
Murphy's Law.
Murphy's Law. Thank you. But I was about to say, every time we have an election, it's always the last few days before the election na, everybody's on edge, tensyonado lahat ng tao. And syempre, ang iniisip natin, ano ba yung mga imminent threats to the election? That's a question I'm going to ask General Carlos and General Centino. When we come back, we will be back after this very quick break. Politics as usual. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back. This is Politics as Usual. I'm Pia Hontiveros. My guests tonight, AFP Chief of Staff General Andy Centino, PNP Chief General Jonard Carlos, Myla Villanueva, PPCRV Chair, and Gus Lagman, Chair of NAMFREL. General Carlos and General Centino, any imminent threat to the elections? And I understand you did a lot of contingency planning, so you have everything ready, no? May what-ifs kayo, what to do. And pinag-aralan nyo ano yung 3 to 5 most probable or likely to happen, General Carlos?
Yes, so far none. But we are monitoring, and informations are, in the air. But we're prepared for whatever will happen after the elections, after May 9. So this is not the first time that we've been helping in the elections, especially handled by the COMELEC. So we're prepared. We're looking at the information. If it happens, we have our contingency.
Okay, can you share what that information is? Or ito yung mga sinasabi, sabi-sabi ng mga tao? Sabi-sabi.
So, once sinabi mo yan, magbabalidate kami.
Okay.
So, and I also look at the way their statement, may word na baka. Hindi sila sigurado.
Yeah.
So,
pero mas maganda ba na yung mga tao hindi na lang magbigay ng kung ano-ano.
Mas maganda, they just focus on you do your campaign, make sure that you show your plataforma and ask them to vote for you, and let them vote on May 9. Right now, what we're trying to do is disrupt their money trail to make sure that they cannot do vote buying. That's the instruction of the Secretary, Ed Año, and the President. We also are monitoring our personnel. They're following the Alunan Doctrine. If they are providing security package and they know what they are doing. So just today, I had to put policemen on our holding area and undergo investigation.
For what violation exactly?
It's an unauthorized deployment. So I asked the regional director to put this guy already in a holding area, holding unit, together with the 4 policemen found in one area. They have to answer why they are in those areas.
Which region and what rank is this officer?
I have 3 PNC rank and 1 lieutenant colonel.
Lieutenant Colonel.
Sinabi ko na yan as early as January and February. You look at these positions and bantayan nyo. Sinasabi ko, tingnan nyo to kung anong gagawin yan. That's why I went around the different police regional office. Tinitingnan ko sila sa ground. And I ended all my command visit April 19 in NCRPO. And I'm satisfied with all the preparations. I started monitoring and supervision and tweaking only after April 19. So when I get the information, I go down to my field commanders to to validate the information, and then they find something, I immediately act on it.
What region, by the way, General, itong Lieutenant Colonel at yung PNCO niya?
Region 9,
Zamboanga.
Region 4A,
4A Calabarzon,
yes, and Region 7.
7.
So ito yung mga...
Central Visayas.
Ang instruction, be apolitical, non-partisan, neutral. You don't follow that, I'll make sure that I take action on it.
Oh, pag-uusapan natin near the end of the show yung pagiging non-partisan ng both the AFP and the PNP. But General Centino first, as far as you are concerned, the armed forces is concerned, any imminent threat to the elections, and what are you prepared for?
Well, Pia, we have prepared early this year, and we have issued directives and letter of instructions, ensuring that all our field units are ready, they're prepared, they're organized. We have, aside from election duties, we also have current security operations that we're going after insurgents and terrorists. And we're doing both these tasks simultaneously. And we just would like to ensure that there are sufficient forces. If we talk about securing the elections, even while our troops are focused right now in going after insurgents, we still have available forces that we can deploy anywhere in the country. Of course, we cannot cover all areas. That's why it's important that we're able to assess, evaluate together with the PNP, with the COMELEC, where these areas that may be potential trouble areas during elections. So, yun ang ginagawa natin kasi hindi natin talaga totally makover lahat. No?
Yes.
So, we just have to select or assess saan natin dadalhin yung mga tao natin.
We'll go to the hotspots or the so-called areas of concern a little bit later on in about 5 minutes. But I wanted to ask you first, General Centino and General Carlos, kasi kanina sabi ko nga, the few days before the elections, is always tensionado yung mga tao, everybody's on edge, like I was saying. But what for you will be the most critical period of the election? D-Day itself, Election Day, or the eve of Election Day, or the day after elections, the days following the election?
Well, for me, it's really the whole election period. Yeah. Okay. During campaign, there will be movement of persons. The candidates will be campaigning, and the supporters will also be attending the campaign sorties. So we see that because of this movement, there will be perhaps opportunities for those candidates who plan untoward, planning something bad against their rivals. So this is where we see things could happen. That's why right now, when there are campaigns, we make sure that in coordination with the police, we have forces deployed in the campaign areas.
What specific information do you have on specific candidates? Sino?
No specific candidates. Well, there are areas that we still see full of insurgents, like in Samar, in Bicol area. We also have in Eastern Mindanao, of course, Lanao and Maguindanao in Central Mindanao. These are the areas that we're looking really closely because this is where the insurgents and terrorists are.
General Carlos, yung critical period, sabi ni General Centino, it's the entire
Yeah, I would
period, no?
agree with that. We plan from day 1 to June 9. Yung deployment ng personnel namin will depend on the D-Day. So majority will be deployed days before, starting tomorrow. And we'll have full deployment starting tomorrow. Everybody will be on duty on May 9, and then we'll plan. We plan for it already, but the deployment is, we will not pull them out until we are assured of, walang ibang mangyayari.
Pag-usapan natin yung post-election scenario. Are you also prepared for any contingency in for example, some camps or campaigns contesting the outcome of the elections, whether on the local or the national level, that could trigger some unrest, some civil disturbance, any protests? Meron na bang ganong pinag-aaralang scenario?
We're prepared for civil disturbance management operation, yung CDM namin.
Yeah.
We
Which is the usual. You
the
always
usual,
do this,
yes.
no, every
We
election.
started
yeah.
practicing for May 1, nothing happened. So we're continuing our practice and information gathering until election day, and then let's see. We're prepared for that. I'm always coordinating with Andy Centino, and we'll as deputized agency of the COMELEC, we'll get the instructions coming from the COMELEC. But
Johnson?
we're ready.
John Centino.
We also have CDM units prepared. I-rehearse din natin kung anong gagawin. Maximum tolerance, yung mga tinuturo natin na make sure that when we deploy these units, if ever there will be disturbances happening within the bounds of the law.
Okay. And by the way, no, just to point out, magbimista kayo, no, your classmates, so it's easier to to coordinate. And teka muna, General Carlos, because you are your retirement date is May 8, the day before the election. Paano yun? Bitin, dead.
Well, we will get the orders from the commander-in-chief. I'm by law, it's May 8, so that's a
Yes.
Sunday, a day before election.
Yes, but it's so weird. Di ba?
May mga ano naman po yan, nasa batas yan. So what is legal can be done, then it can be done.
Okay,
But,
it's just but it's just that we're at a very critical period.
Yes.
No, we have election day and the post-election scenario, of course. But anyway, more from our guests when we return. This is Politics as Usual. Be right back. Welcome back to Politics as Usual. I'm Pia Hontiveros. Very quickly now, just a reminder, because people might have forgotten, General Carlos, syempre, the police, and then John Centino, the soldiers, you are allowed 50 meters away from polling centers, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. There's still more to talk about with the AFP and the PNP, but let's speak first to NAMFREL and PPCRV. And I wanted to ask Mr. Dagman and Myla here, Myla Villanueva, listening to them, talking about all these scenarios, post-election scenarios, before D-Day, eve of D-Day. What are your thoughts, and how are you preparing your own organizations for what is expected to happen? Mr. Dagman.
We've never had any problems with violence and things like that, and that's up to them.
Yeah.
We just take
Well,
care of.
you did a long time ago. Nung manual pa tayo.
The manual pa, yeah. We just attend to the job that's before us, and since 2010, we've been handling the random manual audit. So that's what we concentrate on. We do some, where there are gaps and we have volunteers, then we do some poll watching, but that's not our main focus. It's really the random manual audit. Yeah.
Okay. Myla Villanueva for PPCRV.
Yes, Pia, we have 500,000 volunteers this May 9, and they're poll watching in 100,000 plus precincts, no? And around 37,000 voting centers. So we are out there, and peace and order is a big concern, and therefore each of our coordinators have been meeting with the PNP and AFP in the areas, especially the areas of concern. So we're preparing for that as well. But we have been training. This is again not the first time PPCRV has been around. But as you can see in some of the photos, our areas that we cover are very remote in certain cases. Some are urban. So there are different scenarios for our volunteers, and we really train and work with them to keep their safety, first of all, in any event.
Okay. Of course, you are, like you said earlier, you are doing the partial, unofficial quick count, and you are going to be receiving the election return, a digital transmission, and the hard copy.
Yes.
That you will compare, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And election night, we will already know the winners, right?
Well, it is called unofficial parallel count for a reason. We do not proclaim a winner
Right.
despite receiving. Our real work in the unofficial parallel count is to collect the fourth copy of the return when the polling centers close. That's around 7 o'clock. By law, we are allowed to pick up a fourth copy that is a pre-transmission copy. And then, of course, copy 9 forward is a post-transmission return. So the importance of that is we pick up, imagine the scale, 106,000 precincts would pick this all up and send it to our command center, where each of the returns will be matched against the electronic copy. So the return that the VCM sends electronically is matched twice in a double-blind scenario, just to assure the public that no dagdag bawas was happening in the transmission.
And in 2019, you were satisfied when you compared both the electronic copy and the hard copy, the fourth copy of the ER.
Yes, back in 2019, we had 87,000 precincts. We picked up 77,000 returns, and we got a 99.995% match. So we certainly can assure the public that as they feed the ballots, there's so many questions about what happens after you feed the ballot into the machine. That transmission was well and good.
That's good. 99.995% na nag-match. Okay. And earlier you were saying, of course, you're doing the unofficial count, no? And because the work of proclaiming, of doing the official count belongs to other groups, no, other boards of canvassers, right? Can you very briefly just remind our viewers, for example, sa local, sa national, senator, party list, president, Congress, who's going to be doing the official count, just so that people will remember?
Yeah, it's really always the COMELEC in any event. Therefore, the public should expect that we will stop at some point when the results are really nearing. The proclamation for national, president, vice president is really the work of the COMELEC, the Senate. And our job is really to sort of tell the public that the returns are coming in, that the technology is doing its job, that the results from the precincts are coming in, and then of course, we are also waiting for the physical returns, that those are also coming in, and that they are matching. PPCRV does not proclaim candidates, even if people think, wow, we know the results already.
Yeah, you are just merely informing us of the results of the unofficial partial quick count. But election night, we will have proclamations at local levels, right? Cities, provinces, right? Sorry, at very least, municipalities or cities, right,
Yes,
Mr. Lagman?
the local results come out very much earlier than the national, obviously, because from the municipalities, from the precincts, they go to the municipal board of canvassers, and then the provincial board of canvassers, and finally the national board of canvassers. So, in the meantime, the local officials can be proclaimed even as they're still working on the national final tabulations.
And of course, that was the beauty of that is the beauty of automated elections beginning 2010. And we need to talk about this so that we can remind people what it was like way back when we were doing manual, right, sir? Mr. Lagman, hindi ba? Nung NAMFREL, nung panahon ng NAMFREL, nung nagbabantay pa kayo ng balota at ballot box.
Yeah, we would have, in 1986, for example, we had 500,000 volunteers working, and then just at the LaSalle Green Hills, we had 2,000 on 3 shifts, 2,000 volunteers working 3 shifts. And that's 3 floors. It's a good thing I was younger then.
Yeah, the big dome of LaSalle.
Yeah, the big dome of LaSalle.
Oo. Pero ibang-iba dati, no? Manual election, and then now, di ba? Less stress ngayon, right?
Yeah, because first of all, it's faster. The COMELEC count then would extend up to June 30, almost.
Right.
And one time we were worried that they might not finish by June 30, and there might be a constitutional crisis.
Yeah.
Because we wanted the officials come July 1.
Right. June 30, inaugural day. We're supposed to inaugurate the new president and VP. Yes, Marla.
I was a poll watcher, a young person back then. And in Rizal Stadium, people would be sleeping. in the stadium just to watch, no? There's something to say about the speed at which we know our results. There's less time for any cheating. The violence has gone down. And while the proclamations are happening in a very physical world, in the digital side of things, you're really knowing what's going on across local, provincial, and national positions. So it calms people down. Although for the losers, of course, they say natulog lang ako, pagising ko, natapos na.
Yeah.
But there's
Well, there can
really,
only be one winner, right? How many winners can there be, Myla?
correct.
One lang, right?
correct.
Okay,
So,
sige. We
Except
just
for
really
the
need to pick
councilors and senators.
yeah,
Of course. Yes, 12 senators, ilang bukal sa isang probinsya, ilang konsehal. Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very much happier now that the automated system is in place. And you know, every election has something that happens. You know, it's not a perfect system in any case, but with the automated system, you can easily audit things. You can look at logs. You can ask the systems questions. So there's a format or a philosophy we have at PPCRV that you trust but you verify. And both those two, I think, we can do for the public.
And there is a paper, there is a digital trail as well. And I like we said, trust and verify. But people can have faith in our elections, right?
Well, let's just say that we have to be proud of our election. I mean, we still have one person, one vote. And this is probably the most automated system in the world where 65.7 million registered voters, if they all come out, can cast their vote. And we can know the results pretty quickly. That's quite something to behold.
Voters coming out very quickly before the break. We have a minute to go before the break. Voter turnout has been quite okay, no, in the last few
Always.
elections.
Yeah.
And this time around, do you have like a guesstimate for what voter turnout might be like this time around?
Maybe around 80
Uy,
or a
mataas
little
na
more,
yun,
yeah,
yeah.
because of the interest in this coming elections.
Interest. Yeah. 80%.
Trying to choose my words.
Oh, it's okay. Don't choose your words. Not on this show. It's okay. Okay. And Myla, ganyan din sa inyo, 80%. Yeah.
It's polarized. People want to be heard. They want to be right.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they're going to come out and have their voices heard.
And
on
that is
May 9th.
democracy, right?
Yes,
Oo.
absolutely.
Okay, I remember because I used to cover NAMFREL also way back when, and we would always talk about the fill-up rate for senators, yung dapat 12 senators, and it's very rarely do people fill up all 12, right, sir?
The average fill-up rate would usually be between 7 and 8. Yeah.
Okay. Ano yun?
For the senators.
Nung manual, 7 to 8. Tapos nung nag-digital, pareho
Still,
lang.
yeah.
Still.
Oo.
Okay. Why? That's all they can remember or that's all they wanted to vote for?
Well, I guess they only vote for those that, ito, kilala ko to, ito, narinig ko na to, you know. And they find it difficult to fill up 12 names.
Yeah. Pero ngayon, shading of ballot.
Kaya
na.
mas madali.
Mas
because
madali.
you just shade the circles or ovals.
Yeah, if they can remember, right?
Yeah. Well, I always say that, bring a código. So it takes you only about 2 to 3 minutes and you're done.
Yeah. Okay. Código, not on your phone. Pwede
No,
yung phone.
not on your phone.
Written.
Yeah, written.
A printout, a handwritten or a printout código of the names of the senators you want to vote for, party list, etc.
The
Complete.
list of
Kompleto.
officials.
Yeah, don't
Minor.
vote over 12. that will
of course,
invalidate.
oo.
So
Yeah.
people have to know
Sundan ko
sometimes.
lang yun. Bring your own código. Do not accept código.
Yeah. Yung sample ballot nila.
Yung
Bring your
sarili mong sulat, pili mo, wag yung isinusubo sa'yo.
Okay.
Official, sample ballot.
Yeah. Kaya lang, bumoto na ako eh. Local absentee voting. Di ba? AFP, PNP, media.
Pwede
We
kayo,
voted last week na.
Pwede kayo.
We exercised our right to vote. All right. We will be right back after this very quick break. Politics as usual. Stay with us. Right. Welcome back to Politics as usual. I'm Pia Hontiveros. Gas Lagman and Myla Villanueva. Kanina pinag-uusapan na nga yung mga kodiko na kailangang dalhin na sabi nga ni John huwag kayong tatanggap ng kodiko mula sa ibang tao. Dapat may dala kayong sarili. No? Pero I wanted to ask you this also. Ano yung mga most common mistakes ng mga botante and how can they avoid them?
Well, Pia, there's so much disinformation going around in the internet. So this is a very important question. Napakasimple lang po bumoto. Isang presidente is shade. Shade 100%. Vice President shade. Kasi sinasabi po ng disinformation ngayon, i-X, i-cross out. Kung ayaw mo, don't. Please simplify, just vote and shade the oval. We're also still in the middle of the pandemic. So the COMELEC has come out with a precinct finder, very easy to use. Hanapin nyo na po ang inyong presinto kasi dyan nagkakagulo ang election day. So that's another way. And yes, please know your votes already. So I agree very much that you would save a lot of time and also probably get to vote more senators because yes, I hear that people have problems remembering 12 names.
Okay, basta not more than 12.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Lagman, any other reminders for voters?
Well, be careful lang kasi sometimes one of the mistakes that a voter does is while thinking, natutudlok yung pen. On a kwan, no? So be very careful. Just make sure that you're shading the right oval or circle.
Okay. So if you're still parang lift your pen,
Lift
parang
your
hindi
pen,
naka,
oo.
in other, parang ganito, parang hindi nakaganon. Okay? Oo.
Yeah.
Although sa local absentee voting kasi manual but...
Ganun
Yeah.
ba? I see.
Okay. So just be very,
yeah.
very careful. Or
Yeah.
else it could mean na ma-invalidate ang balota.
And better for them to go to the polls early. No? Ako, I usually vote 7 o'clock. I'm done.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Kanina with General Centino and General Carlos, napag-usapan na, nabanggit na itong mga areas of concern, yung mga tinatawag na hotspots. So, can we talk about that plus the private armed groups? Because I'm sure that magkasama na yun. Ano? So, when it comes to areas of concern, areas of grave concern, may different color symbols yan. At the same time, syempre, pag sinasabing private armed groups, we've been talking about private army since the late 80s, 90s. Hanggang ngayon pa ba merong mga ganoon? And what kind of a threat do they pose for our elections? Let's begin with General Centino.
Yeah, together with the COMELEC, the PNP and the AAP submits our information regarding situation in certain areas, and with this information we're able to come up with the classification of areas, areas of grave concern, and we have a color code for these areas: green, yellow, orange, and red. This is, as I was saying earlier, needed to because we can practically cover all areas. Importante doon na identify lang natin saan talaga ang malamang magkaroon ng problema during election day. So,
And that's where you
that's
concentrate
right.
most of your forces.
We deploy our
Ganun.
forces.
Okay.
And we have around more than 770 towns, municipalities considered areas of grave concern, and we have 74 cities. And this is where we concentrate our deployment of forces.
Okay. And for the PNP, ganun din.
Yes, we made this recommendation to the COMELEC, and the final yung category nila will come from the COMELEC. The latest is we have 10 towns in Lanao and in Maguindanao that are now under the COMELEC control. So the red colored areas, doon kami nagko-concentrate. These are areas where presence of the local terror group, the New People's Army that converts themselves to be of service, where also when they for candidates or they require PTC, permit to campaign. So these areas yung nabanggit
Meron
na
pang
kanina.
ganun, may permit to campaign. You have monitored candidates selling or less?
Of this election compared in the previous elections. So Yun ang binabantayan natin. And then we also look at the historical record of how many, if there are election-related incidents in the past 2 elections. So we can categorize them as red kung meron. Karamihan naman po nito ay it's over 100 lang naman na nasa red category. The rest are, we're monitoring them and making sure that no ERIs or ERBIs will happen.
Election-related
Incidents.
incidents.
So far, total natin 53. 10 are the only confirmed election-related incidents. And they are under investigation at this time already. So compared to the previous elections, mas okay tayo ngayon, mas lower.
Dahil sa pandemya.
Hindi
Or
naman.
what?
Kasi pagdating ng January, nasa labas na rin ng tao eh. So, it's more, I believe it's more of yung tao mismo, relying so much now on the social media for information.
Wait. So parang yan ang nagiging exhaust valve, no? Social media. Doon na lang binubuhos. Ganun.
So, kami naman, we maintain our presence in the streets by converting our quarantine control points as border control points, plus the COMELEC checkpoints. People are out now, and I hope they will be out on May 9 to vote. Walang takot, walang influensya. It's on their own. That's what we really want to happen. And we make sure that the armed forces and the PNP were ready there to secure them when they vote.
And if I may add, Pia, in the past, yung New People's Army, ito talaga very active in demanding for permit to campaign fees, and pag hindi nagbigay, ito yung magkakaroon ng mga atrocities na nangyari. But as we are succeeding in our campaign against the insurgents, bumaba na itong capability nila to threaten. So that's why we see na itong reduction of election-related incidents over the past elections. Ngayon, mababa talaga. That's one factor that we see.
Okay. Nabanggit na rin ni General Carlos itong mga checkpoints, no? And doon yung nakukuha karamihan ng mga loose firearms, for example. Mga gun ban violations, doon nahuhuli.
Nahuhuli natin sila because of the checkpoints. It's over 2,850 ang total natin as of today from day 1. Pero marami po sa atin pong nare-recover na firearms are being turned in. Turned in by the candidates, turned in
Voluntarily
by
na.
voluntarily. Like for example, yung pong atin pong nagsusurrender ng mga NPA rebels, they're turning in their firearms, and we're counting this as to reduce the number of loose firearms in the street or in the hands of unauthorized personnel. So marami po yung ganyan. Tapos yung ina-account namin through bilang boga, through our efforts to go and ask the owner of registered firearms to renew their firearms registration. So it's the different efforts to remove or take away these firearms during the election period para hindi magamit.
Oh, but what kind of firearms? Long arms? Or?
Mostly yan sidearms, short firearms.
Okay. All right. We'll have to take a quick break going into the final stretch of the show. More on our discussion when we come back. Stay tuned. We are on our final stretch. This is Politics as Usual. General Centino and General Carlos, of course, one of the big questions for you and your organizations is how, of course, soldiers and policemen can cast their votes. So that is the only thing you can do in terms of political participation, right, General Centino?
That's right, Pia. We can vote on election day, and some have actually voted. They avail of the absentee voting option. And we have always been emphatic about this among our soldiers, that as an organization, we have to be non-partisan. We won't be siding with any group. We don't support any candidate, any political group. Our duty is to ensure the security of the process, the physical aspect of security of the elections. That's really our primary duty. And I've been saying this to our soldiers that sometimes our personal preference is immaterial.
Right.
We just keep it to ourselves, and maybe on election day we cast our vote. That's about it. And what's more important is the will of the people is
Upheld.
heard, and it's who the people would vote for, and they win the elections.
Okay, and that is a reminder to all the soldiers, the men and women of the armed forces, and to the candidates and their campaigns also. We should be reminding them also, no, about the soldiers. General Carlos, sa PNP, ganyan din.
Yes, mas mahirap sa amin because we're really dealing with
The
candidates or
politicians.
the local chief executives pag hindi election period. But again, we rally the entire Philippine National Police. We rally to that we are a professional Philippine National Police that will only work for a peaceful election, nothing else. Kaya yung preparations namin was early. We remove our policemen that have relatives running for posts in the areas where they can influence. That's part of our rotation policy. We remove our provincial directors, chief of police in the area that they've been there for a year or more than a year, just to make sure that they are not the one that would lead us in the field are not familiar with the local chief executives or candidates. We did that early January 9, and we keep on reminding our personnel that to be apolitical, just be neutral, non-partisan. So sabi ko nga, itong last 2-3 weeks, I'm monitoring them. So,
I'm watching
talagang making sure that you follow. So, kung meron hindi nag-declare, so I have to remove these personnel that did not declare that they have relatives running in these areas. But generally, the entire Philippine National Police, majority, talaga pong very professional sila at this time, kami at this time, making sure that wala muna kaming hi hello sa mga local chief executives or the candidates that are running. And ang aming pong plano, bumoto lahat ng police na rehistrado. They will go to where they are registered voters. And thank you very much to the COMELEC for allowing us to vote early in the morning in uniform, and the moment after we have casted our votes, magpe-perform na po kami ng duty to make sure the rest of the Filipino people can go out and vote.
Okay.
Yun po yung aming pong gagawin.
Okay. And so that is a reminder to the men and women of the Philippine National Police, and I'm repeating, I know I sound like a broken record, to the Philippine National Police and the candidates and their campaigns, right?
Yan po ang billing ng Commander-in-Chief, the President himself. So we follow.
At alam nyo yun that is in the Constitution, right? Loyalty to the Constitution. You will remain non-partisan until the last ballot is counted, correct?
16,
General
the
Santino and
Constitution.
General Carlos. Final words, very quickly now. Gus Lagman of of NAMFREL first.
I would suggest to all voters to vote early and to bring a código so that they can also fill up their ballots quickly. And maybe go back to the precinct during the counting, just to watch, and that's it. Let's respect the will of the people.
Respect the will of the people. Myla Villanueva, PPCRV.
Well, don't take the privilege for granted. Please go out and vote. Discern your votes well. It will affect the next 6 years of your life. So especially to our young voters, discern, think, pray, and go out and cast your vote. PPCRV and all our volunteers, 500,000 of them will be with you at the precincts to support and hold a clean, honest, accurate, meaningful, and peaceful election.
General Carlos, PNP Chief.
Yes, your Philippine National Police will be there before, during, and after May 9. I will make sure that your votes are protected and the entire environment for that day is peaceful for everyone.
Thank you, sir. And General Santino, Armed Forces.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines is ready for the elections. We have sufficient forces, and we have prepared enough. May 9 is the day that we exercise our right, and I would call on all Filipinos to vote responsibly, vote wisely. This will be our future, and it's important that we exercise this right. To my fellow soldiers, let's do our job. Let's be neutral, non-partisan, and we make sure that we have secured, safe elections. Thank you.
Thank you so much to our guests tonight. Mr. Gus Lagman of NAMFREL, sir, thank you. Myla Villanueva, PPCRV, ma'am, thank you very much. General John Art Carlos, sir, thank you very much for being here, Chief PNP. And AFP Chief of Staff, General Andy Centino. Sir, maraming salamat po. Thank you for being here. And like they've said, respect the will of the people, discern and pray. PPCRV volunteers will be with you. The voters at the precincts, the PNP, according to General Carlos, will be there before, during, and after May 9. And General Andy Centino saying, telling fellow soldiers to be neutral and non-partisan. May 9 is the day we exercise our right to vote, and everyone should be voting wisely. We've been told before, don't talk politics at the dinner table or the family reunion or in Viber groups and risk digital warfare. But we can talk about it here at this table on the show. Your weekly political appointment fix, politics as usual. I'm Pia Hontiveros. See you back here next Tuesday, 8 p.m.